Thank you.
Thank you, Priya. Now I request Ms. Nandini Desai, founder of Health-O-Spect, to begin with the ceremony.
Hello everyone, we are soon going to start with this session. We are just going live in 2 minutes and then we'll officially start the session. We are all set to go live now and we'll be starting with the session in 2 minutes. We have today with us our esteemed chief guest and keynote speaker. So I think so let's start the session. Technical team, let's start with this session. Technical team is taking more 2 minutes and then we are good to go. We are good to go. Technical team is just taking some 2 minutes and then yes, we all are good to go.
We are now live on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Nandini Desai, founder of Health-O-Spect, please begin with the ceremony.
Thank you, Ritika. I, Nandini Desai, on behalf of Health-O-Spect and the entire team of Nutri-Talk, welcome you all in the world of knowledge. I welcome today's esteemed keynote speaker of inaugural ceremony, Dr. Niketa Patel, research scientist in molecular medicine from University of South Florida, Welcome, ma'am. I also welcome today's special guest, our mentor and dear director of DY Patil School of Bioinformatics and Biotechnology, Dr. Debjani Dasgupta. Welcome, ma'am. I especially welcome the team supporters for the event, Rotaract Club, Innerville Club District 303, Holistic Foods Private Limited, Odigos Hub, and Sumeru Education Society. I also welcome the officials of our title sponsors for the event, Trupti Udyog and Spectrum Infrastructure. I welcome the delegates from the Knowledge Partner, Wisdom Extra Consultants Private Limited. I feel proud to be a part of Swayam Shakti, which works for women empowerment. I welcome all the board of directors and executive members of Swayam Shakti. I welcome you all, dear participants. For those are now with us present on digital platform of Zoom, Facebook, Insta, and LinkedIn, we are really happy to share with you all that we are very motivated with your overwhelming response. For we have got more than 2,000 participants from all over India connected with us, and they are participants connected from overseas also, like from Dubai, Oman, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, and Singapore. Today, I'm happy to share about Nutri-Talk, an initiative of Health-O-Spect. Nutri-Talk is a platform to exchange knowledge on top trends, nutritional trends. This knowledge series plays a vital role as a torchbearer on nutritional theories, talks, researches, models, concepts, observations, articles, and many more, shared by top food and research scientists, nutritional coach, clinical dietitians, food manufacturers, professors, influencers, industrialists from nutritional domain. We usually observe that consumer experience overload of nutritional information, often with contradictory facts about the right diet. Wrong and misleading nutrition information on millions of sources feed the consumers confusion. NutriTalk is the perfect compassionate way for those who want to be able to follow a healthy diet, rich in nutrients to enhance the body's performance. NutriTalk is curated by Health-O-Spect with the focused, selfless intention is nutrition is a physical, psychological, and social behavior leading to a healthy and happy life. I welcome you all in the World of Knowledge series. Hey all, stay connected with us in the 5 day series of Food and Brain with legendary experts and experienced special guests. Over to you, Ritika.
Thank you, Nandini. Now I request dietitian Sonal Vijay Pargya ma'am, Director of Nutri-Talk, to introduce our special guest of the evening, Dr. Debjani Dasgupta, Director of DY Patil Institute of Bioinformatics and Biotechnology.
Thank you, Ritika. Thank you so much. A warm good evening to everyone present here. Welcome all of you today to be a part of this wonderful evening full of knowledge and wisdom. Welcome all to Nutri-Talk 2020. So I am Sonal Vijay. I am going to introduce Dr. Debjani Dasgupta to you all. First, I will like to share vision of Dr. Dasgupta. Vision of Dr. Dasgupta is to create an ecosystem for scientific, technical, engineering, artistic, and mathematical learning processes so that students are nurtured for holistic education to instill among the students love, respect, and pride for India and the rich Indian cultural heritage which is unparalleled in the world. Wow, ma'am. Like this thought is holistic education in today's time is the need of our. Very nice. Now I'm going to introduce Dr. Debjani Dasgupta. Dr. Dasgupta is the director of the School of Biotechnology and Bioinformatics. Earlier, she was head of the Department of Biochemistry, Institute of Science, Mumbai, appointed through Maharashtra Public Service Commission, have successfully launched innovative research initiatives for scientific solutions to social problems, created awareness of social issues among the students and faculty. Dr. Dasgupta was awarded the DAE Fellowship of Government of India to complete her PhD program from the Baba Atomic Research Center in 1984. Further, Dr. Dasgupta was awarded the fellowship of the Kansas Health Foundation USA for a postdoctoral program on cancer biology at the University of Kansas, USA. She has successfully guided more than 20 PhD candidates and several hundred postgraduate students. She has published 50 papers in international and national journals of high impact factor and 40 research presentations in India and abroad. I would like to give a light on her personal profile also. She's trained in Indian classical dance and music. She closely follows and applies the teachings of Swami Vivekananda in her professional and personal life. So good, ma'am. I think that some people should follow their passion some or the other way. Really nice to know this. Now over to you, Dr. Dasgupta. Welcome you. A warm welcome to you, ma'am.
Welcome, ma'am.
Nandini, ma'am has been muted, I guess. Please unmute, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for a wonderful introduction. I now request Dr. Debjani, ma'am, to enlighten us with some of our experiences. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction. And I was looking at the program schedule, which said words of wisdom from the special guest. Words of wisdom are always going to be very short and sweet, and not long words of wisdom. So let me not come in between the speaker, esteemed Dr. Niketa Patel, and the participants. But I must say that I am extremely proud and simply delighted to look at this initiative and see that you have really put it into action and will continue the summit for 4 long days. Congratulations to all the student organizers and the collaborators. And I am sure all the participants will have a fantastic time in these 4 days. Words of wisdom would be, we often say we are what we eat. So nutrition becomes such an important aspect of our life, but unfortunately not taught really very well. And least of all, the doctors know much about nutrition. It is not taught very well in the medical schools, unfortunately. And but if you look at the history of the world, in 400 BC, we had Hippocrates say that food should be our medicine and medicine our food. And you look at our own Indian culture, Ayurveda, the Charaka Samhita, which was even much, much older. So the Oriental thought process was much older. And they considered food as medicine and medicine as food. And they went a step forward and they understood that what food suited one person did not suit the other person. And the population was also divided into and classified as the Vata, Pitta, and the Kapha type of individuals. And there were certain foods prescribed for these different, I'm sure Dr. Patel will agree with me, that there were different, food types that were prescribed for these different types of people. In fact, I'll just bring home certain Ayurvedic knowledge and wisdom for all our participants. See, Charaka Samhita explains that there are 8 factors which actually affect nutrition. They are Prakriti. Prakriti is the nature of the food. What kind of food is it? Is it a easily digestible food? Is it a difficult to digest food, or is it okay? Then the Karana of the food. Karana means the processing of the food. How has the food been made? You see, Karana is very, very important. If you have yogurt, it will have a certain effect on your body. But if you have buttermilk, that is when you beat the yogurt and mix water to it, it will have a different effect on your body. Now, such in-depth knowledge we have lost because we don't care, right? Can you imagine what kind of knowledge this is? Okay, Prakriti, Karana, some yoga, combination of foods. Nowadays, who cares for combination of foods? Nobody, because nobody knows, right? Earlier, they used to say that, you can, certain foods can be combined with certain foods only. Now, see, for example, ghee. Ghee is very good, for us by itself. Honey. Honey is very good for us by itself. A little bit of ghee and a large amount of honey combined together may be okay. But more of ghee and a little bit of honey may be okay. But if you have equal amounts of ghee and honey put in a particular food, it can be very bad for the system. Now, this was the knowledge known to the rishis and the munis thousands and thousands of years ago. To this extent, to this detail, we have lost it, unfortunately. So, Sama Yoga, then Rashi. Rashi is the quantity of food. Okay, the quantity of food for different people varies depending on their metabolic status, right? The metabolic status again is their hormonal status and so many other things, a whole picture, a holistic picture of the individual, the kind of work the individual does. So Rashi, Desha, the place where the person lives. A person living in the tundras in Sweden will need a different kind of food from a person who lives in India or in a tropical country, right? So nutrition is not just one, fits all, one glove fits all. No, it is a varied situation. And so now you are coming to the concept of nutrigenomics, which Dr. Patel will really tell us. But there is more to it. There is Rashi, Desha. Desh is the region. Kala, the time when you consume that particular food. They say yogurt, having had yogurt in the afternoon is very good, but one doesn't have yogurt at night. There are reasons for it. Okay, it increases certain factors in the body. We have lost all of this. We don't know, we don't remember, we don't follow. Then there is something called as Upayoga Samastha. That means the role of that particular food in the entire diet. Why have you added that food in the diet of that individual? And the Upayokta, that means the person himself, the person who's having that diet. There we come to the genetics, right? And so you will get more light on this. And so you see, we have all this knowledge with us, and yet we have landed with so many problems because we have followed certain other schools of thought and not given as much importance as we should have to our own culture and our tradition and our knowledge. Anyway, for further clarifications, I will leave it to Dr. Patel. Thank you very much for giving your precious time and coming for this wonderful summit. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dasgupta, for your wonderful words of wisdom. Like everybody must have been enlightened by it. And as a nutritionist, I agree to your all points, and I want really the world to know what is right for them. They should understand the value of food and nutrition, much requirement of the time. And we should all put our efforts for the building of a new India. This is sab pata hai, which really knows what is right and what is not. The right food and right amount gives you a perfect nutrition. So thank you so much. And ma'am, your holistic education really, I say it is the need of our, even as per nutrition also, we say holistic complete well-being. Nutrition is okay for one point of time, but holistic complete wellness of a person is very much required for a complete well-being. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the words of wisdom.
Thank you.
And really, ma'am, it needs really nowadays nutrition is a very important concept, and many people are not aware about it, and they're misled with many different kinds of information. And thank you, ma'am, for saying these words of wisdom, and which have enlightened all of us.
Thank you.
Over to you, Ritika. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. I request Sonal ma'am to introduce our keynote speaker of the evening, Dr. Niketa Patel ma'am, research scientist in molecular medicine, University of South Florida. Over to you, ma'am.
A warm welcome to Dr. Niketa Patel here. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am. Food and nutrition are important, right? Both can influence the body and mind. If you regularly consume healthy and nutritious food, your genes will respond accordingly. Healthy nutrition awakens essential genes that have a positive impact on our mind and body. Genes and Nutrition is an international interdisciplinary peer-reviewed journal for research on the relationship between genetics and nutrition. So I guess everybody here, all the audience, everybody must be thinking how nutrition and genes could be interrelated. Everybody must be having so many questions about this. And to solve all your queries, today we are privileged to have with us Dr. Niketa Patel, research scientist, James A. Haley Veterans Hospital and Professor of Molecular Medicine, the University of South Florida, USF. Dr. Patel's research program has been consistently funded since 2005. Her research program focuses on the cellular and molecular mechanisms of diabetes, obesity, metabolic syndrome, and the impacts of metabolic cascades in neurodegenerative diseases. Authored or co-authored over 2 peer-reviewed publications, books, and abstracts. Highly regarded in her field, she has been an invited speaker at over 35 international conference events, including the keynote speaker at the 2018 Splicing Conference in Lisbon, Portugal. Senior member of the National Academy of Inventors, NAI, and president of USF chapter of NAI. Director of Molecular Analysis and Core Laboratory Facility, James A. Haley Veterans Hospital Research. Significant involvement in numerous committees at USF and such as R&D, SRS, and IACUC, and serves on grant panels nationwide at VA and NIH. Mentoring and advancing scientific research and innovation in the academic setting is substantial. She has mentored dozens of undergraduates and graduate students, postdoctoral fellows, as well as MD and PhD students. She is the course director of Master's Program in Basic Medical Biochemistry at USF. She is a member of USF's manufacturing cluster, which strives to bridge the basic scientists to translational realities. Dr. Patel is an entrepreneur, CEO of Cyphrix, an encryption software business acclaimed worldwide since 1995. So much to say, ma'am. Like, we are really today privileged to have you. And this topic of today, genes and nutrition, will be really enlightening for all. And I am so happy to be the part of this and to know your words of wisdom, knowledge. It will really enlighten us to all. Over to you, Niketa ma'am. A very warm welcome to you. Yeah, ma'am. Nandini,
Thank
Niketa
you for
ma'am
the
needs to be unmuted.
yes, Nandini wants to say something.
Okay.
Ma'am has 5 breakthrough patents in her field. And please, and you are going to listen to a person who has 5 breakthrough patents. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Nandini. Thank you so much. I am just delighted to be here. Thank you for this initiative, and I'm honored to be a part of this. We've been looking forward to do this for a while, and with all the hard work of all the organizers and Nandini and Swayam Shakti, they put this together, made sure that I cleared up my schedules, and here I am. So I appreciate all the work. So I'd like to just jump right in. And before I do that, Dr. Dasgupta, I would love to share more talks with you. Maybe after the talk, we can talk some more. I would like to share my screen because I'm going to give a PowerPoint presentation. So if the organizers let me share my screen.
Ma'am, you can share your screen.
Okay, it's not enabled yet. Once it gets enabled, I will.
Just a moment, ma'am.
Sure.
Ma'am, is it happening right now? Could you please
Yes,
check?
I got it now.
Okay.
All right, can you all see this?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible. Yes,
All
yes, it
right,
is visible.
awesome, awesome. So let's jump right into genes and nutrition. So from what I have been told is that we have a very mixed audience. And so I'm starting from the very basics and I will build up on it. But I really encourage anyone who doesn't understand anything, feel free to ask me questions. We do have a lot of time for question and answers also. And for others who really want to get into the nitty gritty of it and into the mechanisms and actually the genetic engineering part of it, I'm very happy to answer those questions also. So with that said, I would just like to start off. Disclosures is that the work I'm going to talk about is most of it, or rather all of it, has been published in our scientific journals. These are all peer-reviewed high-impact journals. And some of this is also covered by some of my patents, and I will be describing some of it. So these are the different patents for which I will be talking about today, and it's just spread over throughout the talk. So to get into the very basics of my friends and my all fellow graduate students over here. I don't know, I seriously don't know what my demographic is over here. So let's get to the basics of everyone who's also listening in from home. What are genes? So the beautiful introduction given to us by Dr. Dasgupta, we talk about how nutrition affects the body. So we are talking about the body. We talk about things that happen to us. We don't feel good or we feel really energized a particular day. It depends on the time of the day. Some people wake up feeling all grumpy, while there are others who are full of energy the minute they open their eyes. So these are all the things that happen to the body. But when you look at the body, we need to figure out what happens in the body down to the basics. So what is the body made up of? It's made up of several different organs which are put together. And obviously, most of you would know we have the organs, we have a skeletal system, everything comes together to make the body. So to understand the body, we need to understand what happens in the individual organs. So what are the organs made of? Now, these are made up of hundreds of layers of tissues, and these tissues are specific to every organ. What are the tissues made of? Tissues are made up millions and millions of cells. Now, these cells are what holds the key to our genetic material. And the cells, as seen over here, there we go. So what you see is this is your cell. Basically, millions and millions of the cells make up the tissue, which make up organs. Tens of organs are put together to give us our body. Within the cell, you have the nucleus, which is shown over here. And then you have your chromosomes. Every cell has 23 sets of chromosomes. That means there are 46 chromosomes. Okay. And on the chromosomes, what is chromosomes? This is your DNA. DNA is where your genetic information is. This is where your genetic code is. So it was the year of 2000 and this Human Genome Project was undertaken. This was a absolutely a combined effort of hundreds of scientists worldwide, all over the nation, who sought to find out the basic answer of how many genes do we have? What are the genes made of? What are the sequences of these genes? If we know the sequence, if we know the information, then we will be able to make sense of it. So think about it as putting all the information together in a book, and then you have your big fat textbook from which you can retrieve information, you can analyze it, and you can research into it. So this, what I'm depicting over here is our chromosomes. We have 23 sets of chromosomes. So each of this book, or what I like to call as a telephone directory, the huge fat telephone directories, each of this contains genetic sequence, and those chromosomes are in pairs. So now we have a total of 46 chromosomes. If you put everything together, we have 3.1647 billion bases, which are in this chromosome. The total number of genes which are contained is 25,000 genes. Now, this came as an extremely big surprise, and if anyone who wants to get into it, I'd love to talk about it. Earlier on, it was thought that we had at least 100,000 genes over here, because at any given time in the human body, we have approximately 100,000 different proteins. And the concept was that there is one gene, one protein. And this came as a very big surprise that if you have only 25,000 genes, which by itself is a large number, how can we get 100,000 proteins? And the answer to this is a process called alternative splicing. Happy to go over it with anyone who is interested in it at a later time. The other important aspect was that only 2% of the genome codes for the protein. So what is the implication of the statement is that proteins is what makes the body. Your skin, your hair, your organs, these are all proteins. So only 2% of our genome makes the proteins. What does the rest of the 98% do? And if they were not important for us, they would have been lost in our process of evolution. The fact that we still have them in our body is that they are extremely important. So why are they important? How are they important? And these are the ones which regulate the expression of genes. So when I say expression of a gene means when is a gene turned on or when is a gene turned off. Another extremely important factor is that 99% of the genetic sequence is same in all the people. So you, me, everyone in this Zoom meeting around the world, our genetic sequence is the same. It is only 1% which is different. And that is the difference which gives us the difference that we see outside. What is the color of the hair? How tall is the person? What's the color of the eyes, etc., etc. So it is only 1% of this gene which gives these differences. The rest, any human anywhere on this earth has the same genetic sequence. Now I'd like to jump right into this thing called epigenetics. All right, the word epigenetics. So far what I told you was what is a gene, and the study of gene is called genetics. And this concept, and genetics has been studied for years. So the concept that I'm going to introduce to you all is epigenetics. What is epigenetics? So this happened, this was not an experiment that we can do in a lab, but this is what the world, the outcomes of actions in the world affected large population. So the year was 1944 and World War II was on. The German forces had occupied large territories in the Netherlands. And there was this town in the Netherlands which was completely surrounded by the Germans. Now, towards the end of 1944, we are looking at the fall and the winter of 1944. The Germans were being really pushed back. They were really in dire straits. So what they did was they cut off this town completely from all kinds of food or any other help getting in and out of the town. Now, remember, it was winter, so it's not that they could just grow their stuff, go out to the fields. They are forced to stay within their homes or in just certain areas. They have no food coming in. So the entire population was put into a state of starvation. And this starvation, they called it as a famine. This happened to a population that was previously very well nourished. The Germans were part of it. They completely cut it off till the summer of 1945, when the Allied forces threw the Germans out of there and food was allowed back in. And what was seen over here over the years was that the children who were born within this era, so the mothers who were very well nourished before this Dutch famine, and subsequently after these few months got back their whole nutrition. So you just cut off the food for a certain time. They saw that the children had lower birth rate, And this affected not only the women who were already pregnant, late in their pregnancy, those who got pregnant while the Dutch famine was also, mid in there, or when the Dutch famine had just started, and that's when they got pregnant. They saw that the children were born with a lower birth rate, but what was interesting is that in the adult, the incidence of obesity and cardiovascular diseases had risen substantially. And one of the reasons that we have known is that these are the epigenetic changes on certain hormones, on certain genes. One of them is IGF-2. So what are the factors that affect the epigenome? Food, nutrition, that's all we talk about. But also we have to know that the factors that affect the epigenome, that affect your genome, also are in your environment. Okay, so yes, nutrition, yes, your dietary supplements that help you with this, but in your environment, what you are exposed to, your pollution, the toxins, also pesticides that get into your food, the BPA that is used in these plastic bottles that are very, very popular these days. And but the BPA leaks from the plastic into the water, and that is consumed by us. Also, smoking, substance abuse affects your genome, as well as other things like our normal process of aging affects the genome. Stress situations that we all are in these days, we are in a constant state of go, 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 affects your epigenomes. And then there are certain medications that you have to take, which also affects the epigenome. Now, I've spoken to you so much about epigenome. I will tell you a little bit more by what it means. But to get our basics right is that when we talk about nutrition affecting the humans, we measure that as a number which is called the BMI, which is the body index mass, and that is calculated as kilograms per meter square. Meter square is the height of the person in meters squared. So anything who has a anyone who has a BMI of 18 and under are malnourished. These are underweight. Your normal BMI is between 18.5 and 24.9. 25 and above is overweight, 30 and above is obese. So this BMI of 25 and above is what we are considered or what we need to correct over here. This is one of my favorite slides, evolution of humans. Humans evolved from apes, as we all know that, and we got on, we reached our perfect state of evolution, and from there now we have jumped to this today's age of obesity. Now, obesity in India is of great, great concern over here because the trends of obesity are on the rise significantly. Obviously, the United States completely leads the world in the number of obese people. But as you see, India is also catching up, not catching up, but it is increasing at a very great stage. The highest risk of obesity is in urban India, where you have almost 75% of the adults in these big urban cities who are overweight. Now, I have this whole talk in which I'm not going to get into as to why being overweight is not always bad. Overweight at times actually gives you a certain level of protection. Obesity, which 50% of the adults in large urban cities are obese, that is bad, and that is gives you a lot of comorbidities that you don't want. But in India, we also have this other aspect in which, where in rural India, you have 40% of adults who are underweight. These are malnourished. So here we have a perfect scenario. I should not say perfect, but we have a scenario in which you have over or excess of nutrition, and the other side is that there is not enough nutrition. Now, this was a very beautiful paper which gave the trends of obesity. And in the year 2005 to 2006, you saw that there were only certain states in which there were large number of people who are overweight. So this you're talking about greater than 25 BMI. So that is just overweight and obese, they've put it in there. What you have to note over here is that the number of women who are overweight are a lot more than the number of men who are overweight. Fast forward to a decade later when the statistics came out for India, in just 10 years' time, you see that the prevalence of obesity has spread considerably to all populations all over the country, with women again being have a tendency to be more overweight and obese compared to men, but even the men are getting there with obesity and overweight. One of the reasons why women, this is usually happens during the middle age years when the hormonal levels change, and that is one of the factors that affect weight gain. So obesity by itself does not kill you. Obesity is, as we described, is excess fat on your body. Obesity is the precursor for other diseases, and these other diseases are what can kill you. So just by having excess weight, so we have these conditions which are called metabolically normal. Those conditions, you can be overweight, but if your metabolism is healthy, if you're metabolically healthy, you will not be killed. But obesity is a precursor for several other diseases which have a high rate of fatality. And what is also known right now, that in this modern world, we stigmatize anyone who is a little bit overweight and say that you don't take care of your health, you don't exercise. But overweight and obesity was perceived as a symbol of wealth and also of fertility at other times in history. And that is evident in several paintings that you see worldwide. So what are the causes of obesity? Is it poor diet, no exercise? And again, poor diet is what was, again, we saw in our introduction with Dr. Dasgupta. It is not just related to the amount of food. It also depends on what kind of food you eat and what are the amounts of that kind of food that you are eating. So it is not only the amounts. Just by someone cutting down and saying that, oh, I'm not going to eat too much, I'm going to cut down to having just 2 meals a day, but those 2 meals have, say, empty calories or excessive MUFAs or even PUFAs in there, that is mono and polyunsaturated fatty acids. The levels of that also depends on the food. And obviously this is our favorite, no exercise. In right now with the ongoing pandemic, this is the case of all of us. We are stuck at our homes, and the exercise we have is playing with that remote control. But apart from that, there are several other factors which can cause weight gain. And these are genetic, the environmental factors, the behavior, and the socio-economic factors. From the genetic factors, there are certain genes that have been identified on chromosomes 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 10, and 20, which have certain mutations which predisposes individuals to genetic disorders. And one of the aspects of the genetic disorder is excess weight gain. Many times there are a lot of endocrine disorders, which is the hormonal state of the body, that can also cause the weight gain. Several medications also cause weight gain. The perfect example is with those people with diabetes. To control your diabetes, you'd have to take those meds to make sure that diabetes doesn't kill you. But many of the medications that you take for diabetes end up in gaining weight. So is there a simple solution? Stop watching TV, go and exercise some more. Make sure you eat the right food, the right quantity, the right diet. We all have tried this. Is it a simple solution? Not really. How many of us have got into this stage where we make this resolution that we are going to go and eat the right food, exercise the right amount, and you lose a certain amount of weight? We get elated. We are so happy. But guess what? It comes back right on. So the biggest problem we have is keeping that weight off. And this is your typical diet. When you start the diet, you completely curtail the amount of calories that you're taking. You are very cognizant of the type of food and the kind of food and the quantity of food that you have. But when you do that, what does your body do? Your metabolic rate lowers due to the lack of calories. So your body is telling, your brain rather, is telling your body that there are less calories. You're still supposed to do all this function. So far, you had all this calorie to be able to work. Your mitochondria has to work, your body has to move, your heart has to pump, your lungs have to function. So the metabolic rate lowers. When your metabolic rate lowers, your body will burn less calories. At that point, your brain releases all these hormones, and these hormones tell your body that you need to conserve energy. So you need to store the fat. So your body enters a famine mode. At that point, you reach a weight loss plateau. This has happened in a month, 2 months time. You lost about 20, 30 pounds. That is about, say, 10, 15 kilos. You feel absolutely awesome about yourself. And then you try and you try and you try, but you're not losing any more weight. So you really get tired of it. So your diet ends, you resume eating your old habits, but your body has not reset itself. That metabolic rate remains the same what it had reset at the beginning of the diet. And when your metabolic rate itself is lowered, when you go back to a normal calorie intake, you again put on weight. So we are into this absolute conundrum of keeping the weight off. You lose the weight, you cannot keep the weight off. So how does nutrition affect genes? And I told you a little bit about epigenetics and nutrition. What is the meaning of epigenetics? This is your DNA. Your DNA is what your genes are. Epigenetics are these changes on the DNA, which are on the DNA. That does not mean that it is mutated. It does not mean that you have some kind of a deletion in the genes. It's just mutation, none of that. Epigenetic changes are changes that happen on top of the DNA that do not change the sequence of the DNA. But because of these changes, and these are methylations and acetylations that happen on the DNA, and they can also happen on your histone bodies. These changes can make a gene which is active can be turned off, or those which are not active, rather on and off of the gene, can be controlled by these changes. What we want to also remind everyone is that both the male and the female have their own epigenomes. So here is what we always talk about, is that it's the mother's genes, or the mother has to be extremely careful of what she's eating because it is passed on to the next generation. But during the time of being conceived, remember, half your genes are coming from the paternal side and half are from the maternal side. So if the father's gene, if the father is under extreme stress, he has these changes on his gene. All of that goes into the baby when the baby is conceived. Now, epigenetic changes, the biggest thing that is observed is that these are inherited. So not only does the mother and the father pass on the genes to the fetus, which is on the second generation, but the fetus then carries these modifications and then give it on to the third generation, and so on and so forth. Remember, these are inherited. But the best part of this is that these epigenetic changes are reversible. And how can we reverse this? We reverse this with what we eat. When we talk about, so now this is going to get into a bit of science. I'm going to go through it a little bit faster. But like I said, anyone who wants to get into the details, please feel free. So when we talk about being overweight and obese, we are looking at the adipose tissue, which is an important endocrine regulator. In the adipose tissue or with any other organ, you have to have new cells with regenerated. Adipose tissue regenerates itself every 20 days. So you need new adipose. When you have excess food that comes in, new adipocytes are fat cells. You need new cells to store this extra energy. The new cells, the progenitor cells, are called the stem cells. These stem cells are in the SVF fraction, the stromal vascular fraction of the adipocytes, and they can mature to be the fat cells. Now, you gain weight by two reasons. One is the number of fat cells you have, and the second is how big they are. So with this knowledge in mind, we started doing experiments with human lean and obese subjects, and we took their fat. This is parts, a lot of it came as surgical waste if they'd gone on undergoing some kind of a surgical procedure, or in some cases they had some liposuction where they were removing the fat. And we took the subcutaneous and the omental. Subcutaneous means that is the fat right under your skin, the first layer under your skin, while the omental fat, or also called the visceral fat, is the fat which covers all your organs and they protect the organ from all the external factors. So we took this fat. From this, we have isolated the stem cells. Now with the stem cells, I have another whole lot of research as to what I do with these stem cells. But these stem cells were then characterized. And how do we do that? We can grow them in culture and we can get mature fat cells out of it. The big result that we saw, the observation that we saw, was that the stem cells from a lean patient, when they became into fat cells, the size was a lot smaller compared to those taken from obese. So the fat cell itself, from the stem cells itself, was changed. So we went in further and looked at what happens. Why is there a difference in the stem cells? We looked at the stem cell antigens and markers. And what is it that is changed between a lean person and the obese person? And we saw that there were several pathways. Here, what I'm looking at has some of these adipose markers as well as transcription factors that were changed between a lean and an obese person. The crux of this matter is that the stem cell niche itself is altered in obesity. What is that implication? The implication is that once a person has become obese, the new fat cells that the body has to make every 20 days come from the stem cells, which are within your fat cells. So within your skin, within your body. When the new cells are made, the phenotype that they take on the obese phenotype. And once they take the obese phenotype, they also have to, sorry for that. All right. They will continue to make these adipocytes, which are fatter. So this whole yin yang we saw about losing weight and gaining weight is in a way explained by what is in the stem cells. So a person who is overweight loses the weight, loses the fat content from the cells. But when new cells are made, they are programmed to just continue being fatter compared to being lean. How can we correct this? We can eat the right amount of foods, and those foods which have high antioxidants, they really help, especially with the epigenetic changes, the methylation and the acetylation on your DNA. So eating the right amount of food can change these changes. So this is where we say epigenetic changes have profound effects on a person's weight, and these can be reversed by having the right amounts of food that you eat. With this, in our lab, what we've also done is that we've done experiments in which we take the obese stem cells. We've made these nanoparticles, these are the exosomes, and we are changing the stemness of these cells. So we are changing how these obese stem cells are programmed so that they become lean cells. And if we can change that programming, these lean cells can then divide and rather mature, go through adipogenesis and become lean. So that is our concept. Give these nanoparticles, the exosomes, into these obese stem cells, make them lean. The second way what we have done is what I have said. Being overweight doesn't kill you. Being fat doesn't kill you. In fact, it is the diseases, the comorbidities that go with obesity that is fatal. So we have these inhibitors of certain pathways of enzymes. So these are these medicines, drugs, the pharmaceuticals that we give to the stem cells, we give to the obese and the lean. What we are trying to tell that whatever toxic agents that are being secreted by the obese adipocytes are cut off, so that even if the cells remain fat, they do not give out any of the toxic effects. So you do not have the fatalities that go with it. So that is a synopsis of what we do, and I'm happy to take any questions at this point. I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. And I'm happy to take any questions you may have at this point. So feel free, I can go down to the basics and just explain more about the genetics. If you want to get into pathways with me, happy to do that. I can't hear you.
Yes, there is one question from the chat box, which is she would like to know more on 1% of genes that makes you different from one another. There is written in the chat box.
Let me open up my chat. Give me a second. Screen 1% of genes. So this 1% of genes is what we call as the genes for the designer baby. These genes just define the color of the hair, the color of the eyes, the color of the skin, the height, etc. It does not define at all how your heart is going to function, how your liver is going to function, how your lungs are going to function. So these are certain genes which are identified, which explain or which tell the cell when the baby is forming what are the external characteristics that the baby is going to take. The next question I see is, could you tell which foods help on acting on HSL enzymes? So Nasreen, define HSL enzymes. If you could help me out over here and let me know what is it that you mean.
So, ma'am, we had studied this back in our college days that HSL enzymes are the enzymes which are on a particular organs, which actually help us to understand whether are we going to be losing fat if we exercise or if we follow certain kind of a diet from that particular place or not. Because there are many hoax people in the market right now who say that we can, help you do the spot reduction, which can actually not happen unless and until if it is a holistic approach. So I would like to know that which are those foods which actually help in acting on those enzymes, because it says that only exercise can help activating HSL enzymes. But can nutrigenomics play a role onto HSL enzymes?
So let me start off by saying that a lot of these are infomercials, and these are being sold to people by giving them these scientific names, saying, "Oh, it'll act only on your HSL enzyme." Once you consume something, remember it goes over into your entire body, your entire digestive system. It's going to act on a multiple enzymes. Some enzymes are going to be turned on, some enzymes are going to be turned off. And when they say good foods, basically we come down to our simple foods, which are rich in these antioxidants. And these are your fresh fruits, your berries, your green leafy vegetables. These are what help with the epigenetics, the methylation. Foods high with folic acid also help with the methylation. Now, what you have to understand is you cannot blindly follow what is out there. Every individual has their own genome. Every individual, what works for me, what I consume, will not work for the person next to me. It will not even work for the person within my own family. We will eat the same food. We sit together for our meals, eat the exact same food. Why does one person tend to put on weight while the other person sits and watches TV all day, doesn't put on an ounce of weight? All right. So it depends on the individual. So we cannot really say that this one superfood is going to help a person or every person on this earth lose weight. It has to be individualized. You can say what you can do. What you can do is these healthy foods help you curtail the bad effects of being of the fat cells of being overweight and obese. Hope that helps you. I see your
Thank
next
you so
question
much.
about, yeah, a lot, you spoke a lot about methylation. Um, I can give you an entire hour's lecture of methylation. So methylation is the CH3 group, which is added onto the DNA. And this can be added onto either your bases, which is your cytosine, which is part of your DNA, or it can add it to your histones. Histones are the proteins on which your chromatin is condensed in there. Your genes are wrapped around those histones. So on the histones, you have amino acids called lysines. These can be methylated, or there's another modification called acetylation. So this is what I mean by these are the things that are added onto your gene. Now remember, the beauty of this is what can be added on can be taken off also. Now you can eat the right foods. We have now discovered all these enzymes that can reverse this process. Those enzymes are used as drugs that you can use. All right. Did you find any role in the human microbiome? Oh, yeah, definitely. The microbiome affects obesity. Microbiome, as you all know, is your gut and the microbes in your gut, the gut bacteria. You have the good bacteria, the bad bacteria. It does have a lot of effect. Um, oh, you want to know about my patents? So the patents are on several things. Two are the ones, the drugs that I showed you. One is with the exosomes, the nanoparticles. We have a patent in which we are come up with a composition in which we would change the obese phenotype of the stem cells onto the lean phenotype. So how can we change the stem cell characteristics? And those were the bunch of uh, patents that we are talking about. The other big discovery we made is to show that it's a stem cell niche itself which has changed. And that explains a lot about this yin yang nature of our putting on weight, losing weight, putting on weight, losing weight. So those were the patents, some of the patents that I spoke about. Which component in the food is high in antioxidants? And this is the foods which are high are your fruits, your vegetables, your green leafy vegetables are really high. One that I really like is what is in red grapes. That is resveratrol. That's the compound's name, which is called resveratrol. Resveratrol is got really beneficial effects. The red wine that you drink is high in resveratrol. Now, before anyone jumps into conclusions that I should be drinking more red wine, let me tell you that the content of resveratrol, to help you fight the diseases, you'll have to drink 6 liters of that red wine. So by the time you're done consuming your first liter, I don't think you'll be around to drink the rest of them. So it is better to eat them in their fresh form and eat those. Now, having said that, I also want to remind you that the grapes are high in sugar. So just because the red grapes are excellent for your health doesn't mean you eat a kilo in a setting. All right, everything in moderation. And again, another reminder is prevention is better than cure. You cannot cure a disease by changing your diet. You can prevent your disease very effectively by changes in your diet. So eat healthy to begin with. Don't fall sick and then try to eat healthy to correct the illness. All right, I think this is scrolling pretty fast. All
Ma'am,
right,
shall I
where am I?
explain you?
Yeah, please go on.
Yeah. So one for Mohit is asking you, would like to know more on Dutch feminine diet and BMI.
So there was no diet in the Dutch. They were forced. These poor people were stuck in the cold winter with no food, no calories. They were down to 300, 350 calories a day, were given a slice of bread and watery soup to drink. So I don't think you want to get into that diet. No. If a person is obese because of his or her genetic issues, what would you suggest? So like I said, the obesity, it can be carried on from from one generation to the next. And if it is a simple epigenetic mutation, you could just continue to have a steady diet. By a steady diet means that you know what is the calorie intake for a male and a female. You have that amount of calorie intake. You do not overdo it. You have your meals exactly on time. Your last meal before bedtime has to be 3 hours before your bedtime. Most of us Indians tend to eat and go to bed directly. So that is the worst thing you can do to yourself, 3 hours before bedtime. So exercise, healthy, and meals at the same time every day. So then you're training your body to know that there is a next meal coming in the next 3 hours. And also, it is beneficial to have these small healthy snacks in between your large meals. So your large meals are considered as your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The right way, they say you have the heaviest breakfast, followed by lunch and a small dinner. Now, between those things, you can have a snack, but a snack is just enough to satiate you. And then you're just programming your body that there is a next amount of food which is going to come. So they don't go into this phase of just storing energy, storing energy. They know they're going to get the energy.
There is Shraddha is telling that is there any relation between food allergens and genes? Is there any relation between that?
So describe to me what are food allergens. One person may be allergic to say peanuts and the other are not allergic to peanuts. So again, it depends on your genes and what you respond to. And tell me what's next, Nandini?
How is the effect resistance gene?
Insulin resistance, right then. So the other insulin resistance is that insulin is a hormone which is produced by your pancreas. And responding
What will tell if the problem is related to various issues such as height of people, how can we fix it, ma'am?
No, your height is defined again by genetics of the genes that you get from your parents, and you obesity and your weight. BMI is the keyword that you want to remember. BMI of the person is the weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters square. All right.
How does restriction diet affect?
How can we cure the allergies like gluten intolerance? So gluten intolerance is again, there's a lot of talk about glutens and what it does to your body. Let me tell you, there are only certain diseases for which people are really intolerant. There are a lot more hype around it by not eating gluten-free food. You do need it in a certain level. You get it in your grains. So like if you're eating whole grain food, which is excellent for you, but when you're processing that grain, you're converting it into glutens. And you see this several infomercials, and nowadays with your WhatsApp, people are just forwarding things. Remember, don't just believe everything you see there. 99% of them have no scientific basis. What are the harmful effects? Is that the one of having a meal and going to sleep? Your body needs time to digest the meal. So one way to digest the meal by your body is releasing insulin. Insulin gives the cues to your body to start the digestion and the absorption process. Insulin release occurs when the body is active. And how can you be active? You could be just simply walking around and not going to bed. When you go to, or you could be sitting, you could be talking to people, all this consumes energy. When you are awake and doing things, your body will continue to release insulin. Your food will be metabolized. What is needed is absorbed. The rest is sent for excretion. So this is the key between eating a meal and the time of bed.
Ma'am, there is a question. Ma'am, could you explain the effect of intermittent fasting on our body?
So intermittent fasting is our newest, latest, greatest diet craze. In our Indian scriptures, it was always told that do not eat food before sunrise and do not eat food after sunset. So they've always told you to consume your meal within the 8 hours. And that is exactly what intermittent fasting is trying to tell you to do, that you eat a meal within a certain time, and for the rest of the 16 hours, you are fasting. So what intermittent fasting just tells you is gives your body the time to lose all the toxic things, the excess calories in the 16 hours. Now, it is again not advisable to start intermittent fasting when you've been eating normally throughout the day. Did you say something?
Yeah, sorry. Okay, now there's a question. Is there any adverse effect on the body when a person stops consuming dairy products due to allergies?
So the dairy products are quite rich in your calcium, potassium. So yes, there is an adverse effect if you stop consuming dairy products. Take the supplements. All right.
How does restriction diet affect obesity? Restrictive diet, yes, there.
Restrictive diet, what kind of restriction are you putting in there? So are you trying to cut off certain meals? Remember, a balanced meal is your best meal. So you have to have food from all. You need to have your carbohydrates, you need to have your proteins, and you need to have your fats. You need to have that ghee because that is going to help you make the hormones of your body, and the hormones of the body are needed to process everything. Right?
And the next question is, ma'am, what is impact of health supplements on genes?
A lot of it. Like I said, health supplements is a very broad category. So read your labels carefully as to what are they actually giving you. And what was beautifully described by Dr. Dasgupta in the beginning is it's not only what you're eating, it also what combination are you eating at and at what quantity are you eating. So when it is a generic bottle which says health supplement, I would question that.
Okay. Now,
Have
pesticides and chemicals found in the food like vegetables, grains, fruits are harmful to our genes, or how it may affect to the next generation of humans after 2020.
After 2020, so you're talking about after the pandemic. So now I think yes, the person is there are two different things over here. In the pandemic, one, the exercise is down, people are consuming a lot more, they have a lot more sedentary life. Okay, so you could put on those genes, and again, this is not instant karma, please. So it's not that you eat a big meal today and you're going to change your entire genome. This happens over a long time. So you're talking of extreme conditions of excess nutrition or decreased nutrition consistently for months at an end. At that point, you change your epigenome. It's not going to happen depending on, whether I ate a pint of ice cream today. Okay.
Now the next question is, what is relationship between surgical history of person and obesity, as some people gain weight after their surgery?
So most people, there is no relationship. Most people gain weight, it is because of they would have had a very extreme lifestyle and then they would go into a very sedentary lifestyle depending about what surgery we are talking about. If it is something to do with your kidneys or something, then the kind of diet that they are eating there would be changed, which may add to the weight. But mostly weight gain is not due to surgeries. In fact, we have things like bariatric surgeries which are meant to lose weight.
Okay.
Ma'am, as we are restricted to timings also, and even you have a busy schedule, so do you want to continue the question and answer session, or we'll take one question?
I can take one last question, and we can always talk to anyone on a private chat if you want,
Yes, sure.
and we can do that. So if there is any last question, if anyone would like to ask.
Yeah, okay. Nandini, you ask.
Okay, so there's one question that does any food causes joint pain if a person is suffering from sickle cell anemia?
Sickle cell anemia. Joint pain is different from sickle cell anemia. One of the reasons for joint pains is anything from arthritis, or you could have gout, which is a disease related to your purine and pyrimidine metabolism, and that would affect your joints in there. Sickle cell anemia and joint pain is just, I guess, they're trying to link over here with food. Ferrous, hemoglobin. But these are just very different topics.
Mehul Desai has raised hand and he wants to ask one last question.
Of course.
Mehul Desai, you can unmute yourself.
I guess, Nandini, you asked the question.
Okay, so the question is, what's your suggestion and advice for those people who take supplements and medicines for controlling obesity from general publicity and advertising, especially in India?
So my default is beware. Look at the basics. Advertising in India nowadays, what has happened is that with the internet and especially with the smartphones and the WhatsApp that almost everyone of every demographic is using, there has been a whole array of misinformation, or there has been array of things which are just being spread like wildfire. So you can take, there is till date no supplement that will make you lose weight. We talk about weight loss in a test tube. That doesn't really happen. Now, under medical advice and with a doctor, they can prescribe you some medications. But why is it that it's not out there available for everyone's use? It is because they have extreme side effects with the cardiovascular. That means your heart and your brain. So you can lose weight, but you'll die of a heart attack. You can lose weight and you'll have extreme suicidal thoughts. So these are the problems, and there are several of these pills which were put out, and in 10 years time, 5 years time, they have been pulled off the market. This is really bad side effects that have happened to it. So the supplements that you have, what they're trying to say is, if you eat certain kinds of food, you could help to increase your metabolic rate. My suggestion is that just include the right amount of carbs, proteins, lipid, the right concentrations that you have in your meals, have the right amount of exercise, and maintain constant timings to consume your food. And if you're going to go to bed at 11 p.m., your dinner has to be done by 8 o'clock. If you are an early bed person, and if you're going to bed at 10 o'clock, 7 p.m. is when your dinner should be. Have a smaller meal in the evening. You can consume a large breakfast. It's okay with even a large lunch. And these are the other things, yeah.
Many people have many questions to ask. So all the people who want to ask many other questions can email us. We have given our email ID at health-o-spect5@gmail.com, and we'll share with Niketa ma'am, and she will try to answer the questions and we'll revert back to you guys. Okay?
That sounds like a perfect plan.
Yes.
Thank you all. And I am really excited, and I look forward to some more collaborations, Dr. Dasgupta.
Thank you. Certainly. It was a brilliant talk. Brilliant,
Thank
absolutely.
you. Thank you.
I'm sure we could do some collaborations. Absolutely.
Yes, actually, I did start a couple of collaborations with some colleagues in India. So absolutely.
Yeah, sure. We'll get on this later on. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Nandini, please
Over to
continue
you,
with the vote
Nandini.
of thanks.
Yes. We are very close to the end of the session, but every end is a new beginning. My heartfelt thanks to Dr. Niketa Patel for sharing valuable information on genes and nutrition. Dear ma'am, you led us to explore to the world of research on genes, and I will really like to do my career in food biotechnology or related to genes. Thank you, ma'am. My token of gratitude to Dr. Debjani Dasgupta, ma'am, for sharing her valuable experience and knowledge. Thank you, ma'am. Team Nutri-Talk, much obliged to all supporters, sponsors of the event. We are also thankful to our knowledge partner, Wisdom Extra, and our mentoring partner, Swayam Shakti. We are thankful to all the participants for being with us in the world of knowledge. On behalf of Nutri-Talk, let me invite you to be with us for next 4 days for the knowledge by excellent experts. Stay connected, stay healthy, and stay happy. Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable knowledge. And thank you, Debjani, ma'am, to be connected with us on this platform. All participants, you all are, I would like to connect with you all for the next 4 days of session. There are also going to be some fantabulous speakers are going to come and going to speak on nutrition and health. So please be connected with us for the next 4 days.